Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to show us how we can actually end up establishing configuration variables with our top plate. Now the reason why we want to establish the configuration variables is because you might end up creating your automata box, and as you're getting ready to design it out, you're trying to find out where you want to place these holes so that it will best end up serving your animation that you're trying to create. So in this case, maybe this hole right here, I actually established this to have coordinates x1 and then y1, which are those distances there. So I could end up changing this. Maybe I want this to be a little bit more to the right. I could end up doing that. And then additionally, the y coordinate of that, maybe I want it to be a little bit further back. I can end up changing that by 1/4 of an inch. And then we can also do the same thing. Maybe we want this one that's all the way to the right to be a little bit closer up. We can end up doing that as well. And so this is how the configuration variables can work pretty well for us and help us be able to design pretty efficiently. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to actually go ahead and delete everything that I've got in here. And so whenever you're going to do this, you'll want to make sure that you end up creating a new part studio, and then go ahead and just name that top plate. So I'm just going to go through here, delete these. Perfect. And so now we're basically starting from scratch. We want to make sure that we're renaming this to be top plate here. And then we're going to go ahead and get ready to begin. Now what we can start with doing is going to our configuration panel, and then we can go in here, we can create the configuration variable. We're going to go ahead and establish x1 to have a default value of 1 inch. We're going to then next get the y value. And so this is going to be the x and y values of that first circle. And so we're going to put all the y values to be 2. And then our x value, so this is going to be x2. It should be 2.5 here. Yep, so that's just this spacing here. So 2.5 by default. And remember, we can always change these two after we create them. So you don't need to necessarily know exactly where you want to place it right now. I'm just doing these because this is what we had on our engineering drawing. We got x3, which is 4 inches. So we'll double check that. As you can see from here to here, yep, 4 inches, perfect. And green check mark, and then we're gonna go y3, which is the last coordinate, y coordinate there. It's gonna be 2 inches, okay? Perfect. So now, as you can see here, we have x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to create a sketch. It's going to be on that front plane. We're going to create the front view of this top plate. Now we want to establish these coordinates 4 inches by 5 inches. And then what we can end up doing is we can add in our center point circles. Now be very, very careful. So you can see here, if I hover over this where I'm horizontal to the center point or the origin, it's going to actually establish a geometric constraint where it's going to stay horizontal. So for that reason, we just want to go like right out here and then start creating our 1/2 inch circles. Because if you end up placing them like to the horizontal or vertical of this, it's going to end up constraining those, and it's going to throw a fit whenever you try dimensioning all this out. So these are all going to be 1/2 inch diameter circles here that are cut out, and what we can end up doing now is we can extrude this thickness of this wood, as you'll remember, is 1/4 of an inch. What we can also do is we can change this color and make it look a little bit more wood-like. What I also want to end up doing is I want to right click this, rename, we're going to put top plate. And so now in here, let's go back into that sketch. What we've got to do is we got to dimension out. So this is going to be all the x values, right? So this should be x1. We're going to press enter. What I can also end up doing is clicking on that center point, then this line, we can go x2, which should be 2.5, and then we got x3, which is going to be 4 by default. And then now what we can also do is dimension out the y values. So as you'll remember, this is circle 3 here, so I'm going to put y3. This is circle 2 here, so I'm going to put y2. Then this is circle 1, so I'm going to put y1 here, so y1. And so now, if I green check mark this, what we'll notice is if I change this value, we're going to end up seeing that getting moved over. It's going to be pretty quick, pretty simple. We can also end up changing the y value for that and place it. So this should be pretty helpful for you all as you're trying to create this and make some quick changes while you're in the actual assembly. I do want to also show you this. So if I end up bringing this into the assembly, let me go ahead and delete all of this. I'm going to insert, and we're going to actually put in our top plate here. So let's find where do we put that top plate? Search it. There we go. Perfect. So we'll bring it in here. And so now whenever you're in the assembly, right, you'll obviously have this attached to the top of your automata box. But what we can do is we can right click this and we can click change configuration. And what I can do in here is I can do 1.5, right? Any changes that I make, maybe I want to make that 2.25 as well. You just got to click generate. And then as you can see, it's going to actually make that change for you within the assembly. And so we don't even have to actually go back into the Part Studio at all to make these changes with the box. Anyways, hope that was helpful. In this video, we ended up showing you how to use configuration variables for your top plate so that you can make quick and efficient changes with your Automata 3D file. All right, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.